Pope Francis spent the day in joyous celebration in one of the most troubled regions of Italy. He started at a small shrine in Pompeii and then moved on to Scampia in the periphery of Naples. This is the epicenter of the Camorra crime syndicate's illicit work. There he met 8,000 people, many of them children, sons and daughters of people affected by organized crime. He went off script at this point, comparing corruption to the stench of a corpse. He then moved on to Naples, where he gave an open-air mass in the city's main square, and he visited the city's cathedral, where he venerated a vial of blood belonging to the Neapolitan patron saint San Gennaro. When Pope Francis touched the blood, it turned to liquid, partially, and the Cardinal of Naples announced it a miracle.
Il sangue è metà sciolto già.
The TSA agent with wasp spray to the face.
As I turned around, I saw a man jumping over the security agent.
This guy comes running with a machete over his head, swinging it through security.
And he struck the female agent with a machete.
And then we heard shots fired.
Striking him 3 times. So the last information that I had is that he was unresponsive. And he has a very limited criminal history, couple of disturbing the peace charges.
At the New Orleans airport last night with a man trying to attack a TSA agent with a machete has emerged a true hero by the name of Carol. She just spoke at the press conference in New Orleans. Again, she survived this attack attempt. I want you to listen to what she had to say about going through it and protecting the people around her at the same time.
Well, what I have to say is TSA spends a lot of time having us trained, and we train and train unbeknownst to a lot of people. So we are trained to how to react to different situations. When this all started happening, coming down, it was second nature. You know, we want to make sure that the passengers are safe. So we tell them, run, you got to get out of here, run. And with that, we know they're leaving, and we know that we're counting on the Leos. They're the ones there with the weapon to be able to protect us. So I have to say, Officer Sleeve is my hero. She saved my life. The man was within inches of whacking me with a machete. And she did save my life. And saved probably a lot of others, not to mention a lot of injuries.
Well, I think it's interesting. They said that Richard White is still unconscious, so they haven't been able to interview him. But they said the family is cooperating and that they immediately got access to the car. And what they found there was fairly revealing. Not only were there these large tanks of gas that they still aren't quite sure what they were going to be used for, but they found 6 Molotov cocktails. And that, of course, doesn't sound so good. So this was a man armed not only with a very large machete, and insecticide, basically bug spray, but also these Molotov cocktails.
Over the past 2 weeks, military exercises designed to test the Russian armed forces' combat readiness have steadily expanded. They're now taking place in all the military regions from the Arctic to the Far East. State-run television channels have broadcast pictures of troops scrambling to their positions and tanks and other specialized military vehicles racing through the snow. According to a former Russian officer, the exercises are in reaction to NATO's decision to build up its forces in the Baltic states and other parts of Eastern Europe and to conduct its own military exercises close to Russia's borders. This week, NATO said one of its air patrols intercepted the first Russian fighters of the year over the Baltic Sea. The Western Alliance says its own maneuvers are a reaction to Russia's military intervention in Ukraine and the need, it says, to protect other vulnerable countries in the region.
There are doubts all around a U.S. nuclear deal with Iran, starting with that country's supreme leader who must sign off on any agreement. At a speech over the weekend in front of a crowd chanting "Death to America," Iran's Ayatollah Khamenei agreed, condemning the economic sanctions on his people. Yes, death to America, Khamenei told the audience, because America is the original source of this pressure. All the more reason, the White House says, to strike a deal. Do those comments give this White House any pause about moving forward with a nuclear deal with that country?
Jim, I can tell you that I think those kinds of comments only underscore why it is so critically important that the United States and the international community succeed in preventing Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon. And the best way for us to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon is sitting down at the negotiating table.
There are also skeptics in both parties on Capitol Hill, where 367 lawmakers signed a letter to the president saying Congress must be convinced that the deal's terms foreclose any pathway to a bomb, and only then will Congress be able to consider permanent sanctions relief.
How many of you believe the Iranians in the past have been trying to build a nuclear bomb, not a peaceful power program? Okay, so we start with the proposition they're liars.
CIA Director John Brennan argued the pressure is on Iran, saying he's confident the U.S. intelligence community will have a good understanding of their nuclear activity.
So if they decide to go down that route, they know that they will do so at their peril.
White House Chief of Staff Dennis McDonough promised a Jewish American group the administration won't accept a bad deal.
Any deal would last for more than a decade, setting back Iran's program for far longer than would military strikes.
That is, the president cautioned, if a breakthrough can be reached.
Frankly, they have not yet made the kind of concessions that are, I think, going to be needed for a final deal to get done, but they have moved, and so there's the possibility.
As for the Ayatollah's death to America comments, administration officials are suggesting those kinds of remarks are aimed at an Iranian domestic political audience. What matters, official caution, is what they agreed to at the bargaining table.
A public lynching in Afghanistan. A local woman said to be mentally ill is attacked by an angry crowd after she's accused of burning the Quran. It happened Thursday in Kabul, near a well-known mosque in the heart of the Afghan capital. Several local news crews were there as the horrific events unfolded. Dozens of men surrounded the woman, hitting and kicking her, some throwing stones, others beating her with boards or sticks. Eventually, the woman was beaten severely, dragged through the street, thrown from a bridge and set on fire. A charred spot left in the dry riverbed. The 27-year-old's victim's name is not being released. Her parents say she had suffered from mental illness for years. Afghanistan's president says he is launching a full investigation, and police say they've arrested 9 suspects. After the attack, Afghan networks showed video of burned pages of the Quran. The murdered woman's parents say their daughter would not have intentionally set fire to the Muslim holy book, but a member of Afghan's religious affairs ministry responded angrily.
If this woman was against the Holy Quran, had done it deliberately, and if she was at the same time a non-Muslim woman, then we justify the action of the people.
United Nations officials in Kabul released a statement condemning the murder, calling it an unspeakably horrendous act that should result in those responsible being prosecuted to the fullest extent possible under Afghan law. A shocking and brutal killing in a country where crimes against women are all too common. Linda Kincaid, CNN.
A division of the Islamic State in Yemen is claiming responsibility for suicide bombings at 2 mosques that killed more than 100 people. This terror attack is the deadliest ever in Yemen. We're joined now by Wall Street Journal reporter Asa Fitch. Asa, before I get to you, I just want to give a warning to our viewers. The footage we are going to show you is graphic. We don't want you to be surprised by that. Asa, now I want to go to you. What's the latest there? Are they still trying to confirm whether ISIS was actually behind this attack?
Yeah, the responsibility claimed by this Islamic State affiliate in Yemen has not been confirmed by U.S. officials or any other sort of Western officials, anybody in the intelligence community. It's still under investigation. People are still looking at it, but there was a tweet today that claimed to be from an Islamic State affiliated group in Yemen that took responsibility for this